Hey everyone, Nick Shaheen here looking at Peloton. Not a stock I've traded recently, but I am helping out a few friends. So it's made news. The idea there is subscription service to some sort of a gym experience from the comfort of your own home or wherever. So misleading, do you chase, do you not chase? Always confusing what to make of the headlines and the opinions that are out there. So, assuming I don't know anything about the stock, which I don't, I can get educated on the price action and make some decisions there, or at least add to somebody else's knowledge of it. So, this is a daily chart. It's a fairly new issue, so there's not a lot of history there. So, we can quickly look at some metrics there as far as PE and such. Clearly, I'm not looking for profitability there because they probably don't have that, but they're selling about 10 times sales. So expensive but not crazy. So valuation, we're not going to discuss it. It's in the eye of the beholder since it's so new. So now it becomes as a concept. So it is very viable in my opinion. Everybody wants to work out. At least that's the trend. And if you can replace the gym experience with something more easily attainable, something that you can take on the road if it's got mobility to it, like a screen that you can take with you, or just the hassle of not getting in the car and getting to the gym. I personally like going to the gym, so I'm not a client for it, but I can see the appeal to it. Plus, it makes for a great gift, whether they use it or not, so at least they'll get a year out of it, however they sell it. So now down to the charts. So the daily is too big a chunk to look at it, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is a 4-hour chart, so it gives them a little more perspective because it's such a it's an IPO, so recent IPO I should say. I can see some clear levels right away, so if we can mark them up, there is a section that jumps to mind that first of all when it came out, probably it was hit with the meme that those the IPOs, whatever they call them, unicorns, because of Uber and Lyft and all those that failed, that made no money. This is probably a good consolidation period, right? And then, the investors, Wall Street chewed on it, and then they broke out from it. And the way they broke out is typical. They trade in a range, they test the upper limits of the range, there's a mini range here, and then let's assume that this was the original day. And then they finally, right here on the 18th, whatever, they broke out. So they decided that, wait a minute, this whole time we were trading it here, that was complete bogus. So off to the moon. Big rally. So if I was long and I didn't book anything, I'm probably being very greedy. Assuming I'm stayed long, now do I get out? Do I not get out? So the same concept of levels applies going forward. So this was pretty important, right? You think this is a coincidence right here? I don't think so. So the battle continues at this level. So to my eye, oh my gosh, I just sounded like somebody on TV. Check that. I'll take that back. In my opinion, falling back to here is normal, and it wouldn't freak me out. I'm not long, by the way, but if I were, it wouldn't freak me out. It all depends on my time frame because of several things, but mainly because this rally from here to here, this is about the eyeball 50% of it. So whenever I have a big rally, giving back half of it to retest the neckline from which we broke out is totally normal because the concept is, okay, I go back and this is where I broke out from. I want to make sure that's actually solid footing before I step on it. And then they can go back to their own thing and do the ABC up. So this is the bullish setup, not thesis, the bullish setup. Also, these two candles here speak volumes because this is kind of a mini ledge right here, which includes this massive poke right here, whatever the heck that is. And there's another cluster right here. So plenty of levels to shoot for. One, well, you can argue this is 2. This one right here, cluster of them. These are 4 hours each. And this little poke here, which is probably the most significant. So this is the 4-hour chart. There probably are more granular decisions to be made for the faster trader. And this is a half-hour chart. You can even go down to 15 minutes if you want to become more of a fast trader. So looking at this descending trend, the sellers are still in control. Whereas if you look at the daily or the 4-hour chart, the buyers look like they're still in control. It's an uptrend. So, but here there's a clear cluster here. And this orange line is the point of control. So for this period of time, which is not very long, but it's still a period of time, this should be support because it has history, as this was resistance up there. So as they come back to this ledge, because of this high volume bar right there, it tells me that there's going to be sellers up there. So I don't start longs here. I would start longs to chase the breakout, but not yet, for several reasons. This is a ledge right here, right? They say support, support, and then failed, and now they're back to it. You know, prior support becomes what? Forward resistance. I'm not saying it's going to, but shorter term, this is now shorter term. We already discussed, I already shared my opinion of the longer term. Shorter term, I want to see this level taken out. So this is not a coincidence either. You see that little candle, this, and here we are back at it. So what's going to happen here is the question mark. So resistance first, and then support, again, lost, and now is it resistance again? Okay, that's the question mark. So if I'm a buyer, I want to buy it after I get the answer. I may miss a few bucks or a few pennies, I should say. That's okay. Even if I miss the whole thing, that's also okay. It's better than buying it here and then seeing it do this. And then, you know, the fearmongers will start saying, oh, that looks like an inverse cup and handle. And what happens if an inverse cup and handle breaks? You know, this is a cup. I'm making it this way on purpose, and I'll show you why. It should fall about this much, but to me, that this is a pretty good support level at this time frame. Okay, so I don't want to talk about this yet. I do want to talk about how we got here. It could have been a breakdown of a head and shoulder-ish of some sort. So this is one shoulder, this is one head, this is one shoulder, and once they lost the neckline, the technicians will tell us that this is how much they should fall, about this length. So they came close. They found footing at this edge. They will find more footing here. So maybe the technicians are right and they haven't finished the job, meaning they want this level to finish this hole, but I'm not that accurate with it. To me, I trade a little bit differently than somebody who's trying to eke every penny out of every trade. Most people don't do that. So this is good support for me. And if I'm long, I'm okay staying long to see if break it out. But if I'm looking to get long, I'd wait for this pop above this line. So this is the skinny on Peloton. I haven't discussed anything about fundamentals, headlines, or whatever. The only headline that would matter is if they are going to be announcing earnings anytime soon. That would change the game for me. So they had earnings on in November, so we should be good for 3 months. I know it had headlines. I think they dropped prices, so that's significant. Usually I say ignore headlines, but when a headline changes something fundamental, then it matters. And in this case, you know, changing price from whatever it is, I coughed 2 numbers, I'm not sure, you want to double check it, 20 to 13, that's quite a big haircut. But maybe they would invite more people to join. I'm just saying. So I don't know enough about that part, but technically speaking, this is not an ideal way, a place to start long, just based on the chart. If it breaks above it, yes, I would chase it. But I want to see what happens at this line right here. And the next few hours, this should become clear. This level right there, I'm saying this and that, hopefully you can see these numbers. This is 34, and this, let's call it 33.5 to 34 is a resistance zone because it was support and failed. So it may go back to being resistance. Must hold level, 31.20. Otherwise, they want to finish the job from this debacle down to probably closer to 30 or a little bit lower, where I think it will get some support. Okay, so there's this cluster of support right here. How does that support? On the way up, they spent a lot of time here, and then they broke out of it. So now they're trading above the value area based on this zone. So when they come back into it, that level, that upper end of that value area becomes some sort of a support where the bears will have onus to break through. They will have to prove that they can fail below that little level I mentioned. All right, Nick signing out. If you have any questions, let me know.